Hey everyone, and welcome to our explainer on the epic story of human history. We are going to uncover the absolute earliest origins of our ancestors and journey all the way up to the dawn of the very first cities. So get ready, because we're taking a fascinating look at exactly how humanity became, well, what we are today. To really wrap our heads around our past, we have to start with a totally staggering fact. For over 99% of human history, there were absolutely no written records. Zero. The history that you usually find in textbooks, that actually covers less than 1% of our time on Earth. So for the vast majority of our existence, we have to rely entirely on the physical clues our ancestors left behind. Today, we're going to play the role of historical detectives. We'll be looking at the evidence across 5 key stages: the mystery of our past, unearthing the evidence, journey out of Africa, the technological revolution, and finally, the dawn of civilization. Let's dive in. Section 1. The mystery of our past. Reconstructing the unwritten. Before writing popped up around 5,000 years ago, historians were essentially kept in the dark. Because of this, they rely completely on archaeologists. You can think of these experts as historical detectives who painstakingly dig up sites, uncovering ancient tools, bones, and the foundations of early settlements. By unearthing these material remains, or artifacts, they literally reconstruct ancient lives from the ground up. Moving on to Section 2, Unearthing the Evidence. Clues in the dirt. So, what exactly are they finding deep underground? Well, one of the most crucial clues are fossils. When the remains of early humans or animals were buried under layers of earth, over millions of years, they occasionally turned completely to stone. These fossils act like a permanent biological record of our evolution, showing us exactly what our earliest ancestors looked like. Alongside those fossils, archaeologists often find stone implements, things like hand axes and primitive blades. Experts actually call these extracorporeal limbs, which sounds fancy, right? But it just means these tools acted like powerful extensions of the human body. They allowed our ancestors to cut, scrape, and do vital survival tasks that would be completely impossible with bare hands alone. Section 3, Journey out of Africa, the hominin migration. Okay, let's rewind to about 3.3 million years ago. Early human ancestors became known as hominins, and what separated them from other animals wasn't just the fact that they walked upright. It was their brain power. It was their cognitive ability to actually invent and craft the very first stone tools. Now, we know that eventually these hominins packed up and spread out across the entire globe. But think about this for a second. What kind of massive environmental changes or intense survival pressures do you think pushed these early toolmakers to finally leave the relative safety of the African continent? Keep that in mind as we look at who exactly made this journey. Our fossil timeline really kicks off with Homo habilis. You might have heard them called the handyman. Living roughly 2 to 6 million years ago in places like modern-day Tanzania and Kenya, this specific ancestor is famous for creating those simple chopper stone tools we talked about earlier. Over time, you can even see the gradual straightening of the face as evolution brings us to Homo erectus. Now, Homo erectus was the very first hominin to actually leave Africa around 2 million years ago, taking their hand axes and cleavers all the way to Asia and Europe. And they were followed by even later species like Homo neanderthalensis, who started crafting much more refined fleek tools. And finally, we arrive at the emergence of Homo sapiens. That's us, modern humans. We evolved in Africa around 300,000 years ago. We're the only human species still living on Earth today, and our distinct evolutionary advantage was our ability to develop highly complex technologies. Section 4, the technological revolution, from stones to metals. So early human history is marked by some crazy, rapid technological progression. Think of it like a series of major upgrades. We start in the Paleolithic, the Old Stone Age, relying on really simple stones. Next is the Mesolithic, where things get smaller and sharper with microlithic tools. Then comes a massive game changer, the Neolithic period. Humans figured out agriculture and animal domestication. This naturally leads right into the Copper Age, and finally the Bronze Age, where mixing copper and tin gave us super strong metals, paving the way for the very first cities. So why exactly is the shift to farming called a revolution and not just a change? Well, because it completely and totally redefined what human existence looked like. By settling down to grow a surplus of food, people didn't have to constantly roam around to survive anymore. Because of this, populations absolutely boomed, and since not every single person had to hunt all day, people could finally specialize in brand new skills, like making pottery, weaving, and eventually organizing administration.
Section 5. Dawn of Civilization. The Rise of Cities and Scripts. Once people settled down, they started building big, really big. In places like ancient Sumer, down in present-day southern Iraq, massive tower-like structures called ziggurats anchored the very first true cities, like the city of Ur. These weren't just simple temples. They were the bustling, beating heart of the city, acting as the center for religion, royal administration, and the main treasury. Honestly, it's incredible just how much modern society owes to these early people. The Sumerians didn't just build the first cities. Their brilliant innovations quite literally set the world in motion. They invented the wheeled cart and the sailboat to help with trade. They figured out how to use burnt bricks for construction that would actually last. And brilliantly, they developed a base 60 math system. If you have ever wondered why we have a 60-minute hour, a 60-second minute, or a 360-degree circle, yeah, you can thank the Sumerians for that. With all the new complexity of cities and heavy trade, humanity desperately needed a way to keep records. And this leads to the very first writing systems. Now, we've successfully deciphered certain ancient scripts, like Brahmi or Sumerian cuneiform, which lets us read their history. But then we have things like the pictographic script of the Indus Valley Civilization. To this day, it remains a tantalizing mystery because nobody has ever been able to decipher it.
As we wrap up our explainer into early humans, I want you to ask yourself this one final question. How much of the human story remains completely locked away when we can hold a civilization's artifacts right in our hands, but we still can't read their words? Thank you so much for exploring the incredible, unfolding story of human history with me today.